Hi, it's Selena from Pomanora again. I'm about to build a couple of garden beds tomorrow, and I'm getting things ready to do that today. And I just don't have enough worm castings from my own worm farm to give enough nutrients into the new bed that I want to make. So I've popped over to visit my friend Wendy, who is the queen of worms, and she makes this amazing stuff called black gold, which is worm castings. And I'm going to get Wendy to talk to you about worms, because no one knows more about them and how they improve their soil than Wendy does. Okay. Hey Wendy, how are you?
Yeah, I'm fantastic. You got some things going on, I hear.
I have. Well, Sydney Edible Garden Trail this weekend, and also the end of March, and I'm opening my garden up at the end of March, and I'm building a couple of new beds.
And you want it to look fantastic.
I want it to look fantastic fast, and the best way to make that happen is with your black gold. So we've got a bag of it here. Tell us about it, because my worm farms produce a little bit of this, but it's never as nice as yours, and that's why I come in and grab your stuff. So tell me, what's in it? What does it do for your garden?
I think that's the challenge for every urban permie, is to be able to create enough inputs into the garden. And one of the ways, if we can't produce enough, then having access to a beautiful natural product is the next best way to go. So one of the beauties about this mix is really, it's all about the worms. They're the most amazing little transformation tubes. So they take the end of the life cycle, the organic life cycle, and what they poop out the other end is just the absolute essential, like mother's milk for plants. Mm-hmm. It's pure root available nutrients.
So total nutrient factory.
They're little amazing creatures.
It just looks so rich, and I can't tell everyone how good this stuff smells. It smells like life itself. But
look, I'm going to stick my nose in it to show you that it smells really great.
It does smell good. But the other thing, so when you go to someone's garden and they put their fertilizer on, it smells like they've got buried dead fish in the garden.
Yeah, that's all that pelletized, chicken manure product, which has really just been so rushed along. I mean, anything that's good for the soil and good for the garden shouldn't smell. Yeah. By the time it goes through its process, it should smell fabulous. So if you're putting smelly stuff on your garden, then you haven't got the best.
Yeah, you see Wendy's like massaging this stuff. It also feels amazing. So it's kind of like velvet sand, I think is the description. So it's quite lightweight, and I showed you before I was planting out some of my seeds, and I mix a little bit of this in with some sand and some other organic matter to get that light friable mix to grow my seeds as well. So the nutrients is also really great when you're wanting to get the seedlings started. Yeah. So what's the process then, Wendy?
Well, the thing is, it's not just about the nutrient as well, it's about the microbiology. And so one of the things that happens with the worms is that the amount of bioactivity that they ingest through what they eat increases 10 to 20 times in the gut. So by the time it comes out the other end, it provides a really big bolster dose of microbial activity into the garden. And when you have that kind of soil health in the biome of the soil, then actually it enables the plants to increase, to more effectively use the nutrient that's in the soil. It makes it more available, and you need to apply less fertilizer in order to get the same amount of result. So it's really about building up the soil.
So it's kind of like a probiotic for your garden beds.
It's absolutely
and
a probiotic. If you think about human health and everything that's been discussed, about probiotics and about having your, if you've been unwell or you need to get your gut health back, then, you take a dose of those probiotics to recolonize your gut. And it's the same in the soil, that if you haven't got a really healthy biome in the soil, so you need to put everything into the soil that enables all those soil critters to be able to have parties and make love and make lots of babies, because that's really the kind of soil festivities you want to have happening in the garden.
We want all that cool stuff happening under the ground.
Absolutely.
Underground. And when's the best time to put this on? And when should we be putting the worm castings and other sort of products on our gardens? At what stages? And what's the way to get the best results with them, I suppose.
Any time is the best time, especially if you're starting off. And then over the seasons and the coming seasons, and this isn't something like a one-hit wonder, like really it's, if you think of soil as a living organism, and it needs to eat too, so we need to feed the soil. So doing a feed twice a year is ideal. Not everybody can budget for that, but that would be the ideal. And if so, even if you start midsummer, which is not the most ideal time, you then start to kick into a cycle that goes every 6 months, and the best times for doing that is around May, June, and then around November, December.
Yeah, I noticed this year I put a whole lot on my citrus around July, and I've had a really amazing amount of growth on my citrus plants this year. And we had a lot of rain just after, so I'd sort of dug it in around the plants, and so I think it must have filtered through quite well. But what I'm noticing is below the citrus, everything is growing amazingly as well. So
yeah. Well,
it moves through the garden.
I had a lovely lady in Palm Beach who's been buying from me for quite a few years, and she said that after a couple of seasons on her citrus, she had no more stink bugs.
Oh, wow. Well,
Yeah.
I'm fingers crossed for me, because they are one of my biggest pests. Yeah. And you talk about sort of the microbiology of the soil, but this also encourages a diversity of other insects into the soil as well. So it's not just what's living in the soil, but on the surface as well, which is important for natural pest control in the garden.
Yeah, well, you think if you're setting up a food web in the garden, so that if you're enabling the bioactivity in the soil, and you're putting in your organic inputs, which this has got a high organic factor in it, so it enables those, not only the microbes to keep eating, but the worms that come in the bags and the worm eggs, and providing them with that diet. Then you're setting up a food cycle, a food web in the soil for all of the other complementary soil lives that help your garden stay healthy.
So the garden bed I'm building tomorrow is a no-dig garden bed. It's like the Rosemary Morrow method. So I'm putting layers of, I've already got some dirt down. I'm going to put layers of straw and layers of lucerne and scatter this in between the layers.
Yeah.
And the lucerne sort of gets really warm, and it sort of breaks down. This releases into that process as well. But I've been having quite a bit of luck with, normally you need to leave those beds for a while because you use pelletized fertilizer. What I've discovered is when I use this, I can immediately plant in with fistfuls.
Yeah, shortens up the process.
It shortens up that process, which is really good.
Well, if you think it's what's happening with all that microbial life eating the organic matter, it's speeding up and breaking down, speeding up the whole process and breaking things down. It adds heat into that as well. So as long as you're keeping that process moist, then you're really providing a way to kind of hothouse all of that bioactivity.
Oh, that's great. Well, Wendy, if some of the people in Sydney Edible Garden tours, I mean the trail, are interested in getting your product, how do they get onto it? Because I just discovered you by accident, and I am just so happy that I have discovered what you do, and my garden is just as happy. But how do people get your product?
There's the website, which is blackgoldcastings.com.au, and then also you can find us on Facebook under the same name.
I think the best thing for me about this is that I just could not imagine how I was going to be able to make enough worm casting magic for my whole garden. So this is just, it would have taken me years to do, and I've been able to short circuit that and get things going really, really well. Well, thanks, Wendy. Anything you want to add?
Yeah, just for anyone who's starting off or is frustrated with their composting process in their own gardens, because it's a learning process to see what works. And one of those things I just want to say, just to help everybody along, is it's best to have a bit of a roast dinner thing happening in your compost. You're going to add a little bit of everything, but the most important thing is to get enough carbon in the mix, and that can be wood shavings or lucerne hay or any kind of organic material, sugarcane mulch, whatever it is, but mix it in layers as you go into your compost. And the best compost I find is to make sure it's open to the ground so the worms can escape. And if you add this into your compost as well, it bioactivates the mix and helps that process even faster. So you do it in layers, you know, of your veggies and scraps going in, and then, you know, a handful of this and a handful of your organic matter and like your carbon, and then that way you're building up those layers in the same way that you make a layered bed.
So all those good bacteria and other bits and pieces, this is like an inoculant for your own, so you can use it in that way. Oh,
Absolutely.
great. Well, I've learnt loads. Thanks, Wendy.
And the other thing is you can mix this with water.
Oh, great.
And pour it into your compost mix, and then that way it'll filter down and go through.
Could you use it as a foliar feed, that water mix?
Absolutely.
So the tomatoes would love it.
It's fantastic.
And I noticed that you've got on the other side of your house amazing pumpkins and all sorts of veg. Are you foliar feeding them, or is this just from the roots from this stuff?
Look, to tell you the truth, I haven't had time to do my own. But if I had more time, I'd definitely be doing those foliar mix. I've got a barrel set up to make the liquid compost and to brew it. So by adding the molasses into the mix and to make a brew, and so that it's not just the nutrient, it's all of the bioactivity as well, and spraying that on really helps suppress diseases and provide the nutrients, so to keep the immune system of the plants really strong.
Great, that's awesome. I'm now going to have to learn how to do that next. Thanks, Wendy.
There's always something to learn.
Always. Bye.
Bye.